just want to win it because I know you want to meet the filmmaker and a very special young man, Sanjay, that you'll recognize from the film, which is part of the reason all this has happened. I'm very close to this project in reality. In the December of 2008, I went to Hyderabad, India, to play a role in a movie about Bhopal, directed by a young man from Bhopal who was doing his first feature. I understand they're still working on it. It's a very, very difficult project, and I played a very difficult guy, Warren Anderson. I left the country very quickly. But I'm honored to be here and to support this particular film. It's so powerful, and it captures what we strive to do in documentaries, which is so rare. It's done without a narrator, which eliminates any outside opinion or nuance. The voices come from the people who are involved. And of course, as I say, you're going to meet some of them this night. So I've just been asked to do a very brief pitch. I think all of you coming in got these little envelopes and so forth asking you to make a donation to these two organizations, and they're going to be sharing the benefits. The one is, of course, the Campaign for Justice in Bhopal, and the other is people concerned about MIC. That's the chemical. And Sanjay is going to talk about this a little bit, but there was a great victory in West Virginia where a court just decided last week to eliminate this manufacturing in that community. So this is a very small step. But I think we have only to look at what's happening in Japan right now with the nuclear issue and what's going on with the environment, and then that we self-destruct with our chemical warfare on ourselves. Saw that horrible accident happened in 1984. And so that there are voices and people, and there's a great deal of strength to prevent this kind of thing from happening again. But what it takes is a public awareness. People have to say, enough, stop, we will not tolerate that we're far more important than corporate profit. That's what this whole film is all about. And I'm so happy to see that there's no empty seats here this night. That says an awful lot about this. I want to thank my wife, Janet, for getting me involved in this project. She brought it to my attention. She's right here. Okay, I'm going to get out of your way now because I'm very anxious to hear what these people have to say. But please, make a donation. This is the first step you can take to have a personal involvement and a say in the matter. Thanks so very much.
My name is Ted Braun. I'm on the faculty here at the School of Cinematic Arts. I am a professor in the division of screenwriting, but I am also a documentarian, and so it's a great pleasure of mine to welcome tonight the director, cinematographer, and editor of Bhopali, Max Carlson.
Thank you guys.
As Martin mentioned, we also have with us Sanjay Verma, one of the subjects of the film, who will be joining us in a few moments. But I thought since this is a School of Cinematic Arts, we begin by asking some questions of the filmmaker about the filmmaking itself. Max, this is a picture that begins in outrage and ends in a kind of hope.
Right.
And along the way unravels a kind of horrible crime. Is that the sort of course of your own journey? Did it start with outrage for you? Where did this journey into making this picture begin?
Yeah, I think, well, in terms of the film, the reasons for making it are, a corporation shouldn't be allowed to get away with crimes like this of any sort. So, and like Noam Chomsky is in the film, and he's always been a personal hero of mine. So I've always felt like that. And I first came to know about Bhopal in 2008, I think, because I edited a radio piece about the subject. And shortly after that, we decided, myself and producer Kirk, Palayan, who's here somewhere, that we both wanted to go to Bhopal and make a documentary about this subject. and everything that we encountered in Bhopal was except aside from the Chingari Trust, the rehabilitation clinic, everything was it just it happened. Like, we didn't plan on anything really. We didn't know what stories we were going to follow, and stories unfolded themselves in front of us, and the journey was definitely hard a lot of the time, especially filming anything with Saiba and her family, as well as just initially filming with the Chingari Trust. It was pretty hard, but like a week spent with the children of the Chingari Trust, your outlook is different. You right away you recognize that there's hope, and you recognize that every child there, for the most part, is happy, and cared for. So I'm thankful for that. But certainly filming with Sanjay Verma is pretty much, to me, the reason why we were able to get so personal with everybody, because Sanjay was not only a part of the film itself, he was our assistant, our guide, and our translator pretty much the entire time. And I was there for 2 months in January and February, and then I returned in November 2009, December, for the 25th anniversary. So I definitely thank him for, without him, the film definitely wouldn't be what it is now. But yeah.
You had said that the filming there was hard. Hard in what way? Was it difficult emotionally? Was it difficult from a storytelling point of view? Was it challenging morally?
I was referring to just emotionally hard. And certainly when you're filming a documentary in a foreign place, it's got to be hard probably wherever you are. But the subject and matter was very hard to deal with. And watching Saiba just be very sick and trying to, help. I mean, me and Sanjay and Kirk tried to help a lot with the family. And, no matter what we did, there was always some sort of new problem that came up. She was okay. At one point she started to look like she was getting better. Then she got sick again, and we actually left the country. And when we left the country, I think in February, we heard in March that she had passed away. So we weren't there for that, but the whole process was really hard, just emotionally for that. And just for other things, just being away from home for a while, I guess, in a foreign country was hard. But everything was very rewarding, though. It wasn't. It was never too much, and I felt like what we were doing was worth, being out of our elements, so to speak. Yeah.
That sense of mission, I imagine.
Right.
And purpose.
Yeah.
It's clarifying.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
One of the storytelling challenges you faced making this picture was bringing an event that took place 25 years ago alive for an audience that, like you at the beginning, knew nothing about it.
Right.
While also telling a sort of present tense, contemporary story about, the consequences of this environmental disaster on the current generation.
Mm-hmm.
How did you deal with that? What were some of the challenges of telling those two stories?
Telling the stories. I think the challenge was to first narrow in on what stories made the most sense. And to me, the story of the children made the most sense. I thought people could identify with the innocence of a child, but stories, we didn't ever know where anything was going to end up. So we kind of just went along with the ride, and we were able to get some really powerful stories, obviously. And I think that the activist story and the history is easy enough to tell, I think. But some of the more personal stories, those ended up being the hardest, I think.
Hard in what way?
Well, it's hard we filmed so much. We filmed 100 or more hours of footage, and a lot of it was with Sanjay, and a lot of it was with Chingari Trust. Many, many hours. And the stories, to me, were kind of unclear as to what the real ideas were in terms of a story, like a traditional idea of a story with an arc and all that. So it took a while. It just took a lot of time to develop that and try to figure out what that story was for Sanjay, for the Chingari Trust. But the activist movement and the historical element was kind of clear cut. I mean, that was easier to understand and easier to tell.
Activists are terrific subjects for filmmakers because they're committed.
Right, they're like a hero. They're heroes. Yeah.
The David Goliath.
Right,
you know,
exactly.
long odds. It's,
Yeah.
Were there some difficult choices you had to make about what to include and what to leave out?
Yeah, there were. I mean, there were a few other people that we followed that had their own sad stories, and they never made it into the film. But we spent a lot of time with a family of she's 1 year old. Her name is Meenakshi, and she goes to the Chingari Trust. So she was another child affected by the poisons of Union Carbide. So that was a story that we spent quite a lot of time with, and it for time purposes we had to kind of narrow it down and choose what we wanted. And there were a couple other circumstances like that. But, yeah.
Were there aspects of Union Carbide's criminal activity? Were there parts of what you discovered about what they'd done that that you wanted to include, that you weren't able to, or were there things that you discovered that you were unprepared for in some way or another?
The activists, well, Union Carbide and the whole history between them and Dow, there's so much to go into. Actually, there's a lot to go into, and I'm not an expert really on it all, but I do know a lot about it now, and there's just so much, and the court case that I followed with the Rajan Sharma is like one of many. There are
Rajan Sharma's
he's the attorney, right? He's the attorney representing the class action lawsuit. But
and he's representing principally contemporary victims?
Yes, contemporary victims, exactly. To answer your question, there are like a lot too many to go into really, but the main story is what you've seen here, the main sort of fight or struggle.
One of the challenges I think that any filmmaker, particularly filmmakers engaged in sort of activist filmmaking, which I think clearly is, faces is, when you encounter shades of gray, how do you deal with those, which are very helpful to the dramatist, which make for a great film, but may not make for such great activism.
Right.
How did you encounter any of that stuff, or was it all pretty clear cut in your mind?
To me, it was clear cut.
Yeah.
And one way that I could sort of deal with that was not, like Martin said, not putting myself in as a narrator and not editorializing it and kind of just going with what I found and presenting it more or less. Mm-hmm. So I guess that would be the way I sort of dealt with that. But in my mind, it's very clear cut, and I think that Union Carbide and Dow are completely responsible for cleaning up the site and for compensating the victims. And that's always been my I've tried to present that story, without myself getting involved in it in as much as I can, not like Michael Moore or something like that, but
Well, I think, as Martin alluded to, as you just said, that lack of a sort of intermediary presence gives the film a real sense of immediacy and power. Since we're turning the subject of activism, it might be a good
I think so, yeah.
good moment to invite Sanjay up. And to introduce Sanjay and say a little bit about the reasons for his visit here and why he's been brought over. I'd also like to invite this is by the way Sanjay Verma.
Namaste to everyone.
Maya Nai, who is with people concerned about MIC, which is the organization responsible for bringing Sanjay over. Would you like to say a word or two before we launch into questions about why you brought it?
Hi, so my name is Maya Nai. I'm the spokesperson for a group called People Concerned About MIC. We're based in right around Charleston, West Virginia, in the Institute. I live just about a mile away from the Institute facility, which is what the Bhopal facility was modeled after growing up. So we've always had a real deep connection to what happened in Bhopal. Our organization was founded actually sort of as a result of what happened in Bhopal. We've sort of always been living with this ticking time bomb underneath our pillow, always with the images of what happened in Bhopal. So, to make a very long story short, we've been struggling with having MIC still in existence in our community for 26 years. And we recently just had a victory. Union Carbide were the ones that owned the facility, and now it's owned by Bayer Crop Science, while myself and some other residents who lived around the area brought a lawsuit against Bayer Crop Science to keep them from restarting their MIC production facility, and that was actually successful. And it was successful the day that Sanjay came over to serve as an expert witness in our legal case, and we say that he was our good luck charm. So now we no longer have to live with the threat of what happened to Sanjay and his community. So I just want to thank you for coming out.
You're welcome.
You have a mic on your chair there, actually, so I'll take this one.
Okay, go.
You can sit back down. Cool. Sanjay, when you started working with Max as his translator, and guide, did you have any idea that you would also end up a subject in the picture?
Well, I did not know that that he was going to film me, and I was going to be a part of film. Later, I found out.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, I just did not know.
It was a surprise.
It was a kind of surprise for
But
me.
we asked you though, really early on we recognized that it was interesting. We didn't right away know who you were. We didn't know your connection to Bhopal. We had no idea. We thought maybe he didn't have anything to do with it really. He just lives there. But kind of slowly he told us, that he lost almost his entire family. So at that point we were like, well, you need to be part of the film, and luckily, very lucky.
So first we got in touch through emails and all. So actually, then Max did not know about me, and then when he came to Bhopal, then he found out, right?
Yeah.
Has the film screened in India yet? Have you screened it?
The film, a portion, the Chingari Trust portion of the film screened at Chingari Trust. They have an award ceremony for their children every year.
Which is in the picture.
Yes, which is in it. So in 2010, they screened their section. And I don't know, do you know?
They used a small part of the film actually, just the Chingari thing, but they used it.
Did it screen anywhere else? I heard that the activists.
I'm not sure, but I heard that other activists they use it.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's being used right now, as a tool for activists throughout America right now. And I know a few of the key activists in the film have all seen the film, and they're very, pleased with how it presents the story. Yeah.
Do you anticipate, Sanjay, that the picture is going to have an effect on the activities you're engaged in, on mobilizing for the sport?
Of course, it is going to be, and it is doing it actually. It is a powerful documentary, and even for me, it is quite hard to watch it. It makes my body shake, and it makes me feel inside. It makes me feel sad inside actually. So it's quite hard to watch documentary.
Yeah.
So that was one of the reasons that I wasn't inside the theater today.
You were camping outside.
Yes.
Yeah. What are your hopes at the moment for the community you're part of? What are you hoping to accomplish in the immediate future?
Well, there have been victories actually. Recently, state government of India, they started laying down pipelines, and then clean water is being supplied to them, which they should have done years ago. And we hope that we are asking the federal government of India to set up an empowered commission so that that commission can look after the people who have been who were exposed to gas and who have been drinking contaminated water. We want our government to provide clean water to all the people who have been drinking contaminated water, because so far they have been able to provide clean water to half of the affected communities, and still
Half, 50%.
50%, yes, and still like the water they are supplying is not enough. They supply water to these half communities every second day. So when they run out of water, they go drink groundwater. So like we are hoping that our government will soon, and we will make them do it. We will make them do it, because this campaign is this is not something that started like 1 or 2 or several years ago. We have been like fighting since the disaster occurred, and we know that we will make our government do with all your support.
Yeah. I was incredibly moved watching the picture by how what you and your sister and your now lost brother, what you experienced, and how it really encapsulated so much of the life of the survivors of Bhopal. Was there anything in particular that enabled you to transform what you went through into action, or have you just, well, was there anything in particular that sort of moved you to take action? Because
Well, I very much got involved because of my brother, actually. I very much got involved in the campaign because of my brother, because I and my sister, we lived in the orphanage. He did not come with us to live with us in the orphanage, and right after the tragedy, he came up with an organization called Children Against Carbide. And I was lucky enough that I wasn't old enough that night to see like what was happening that night. But I and my sister, we actually usually do not talk about what happened that night. We do not talk about it. But as I said in the film, like I had to ask, because I did not know what had happened to our parents. So, like when I was perhaps 7 or 8 years old in the orphanage, I asked her actually.
And that was
That was actually
that question was the beginning of.
that was the beginning. But my brother used to tell me about the tragedy, but not in detail, because he was suffering from paranoid schizophrenia. So every time he talks about that night and depression, yeah.
How can people who see the picture help your community and help the issue of clean drinking water and justice for the victims of Bhopal? What advice do you have for people like those in the audience who I'm sure are very moved and would like to do something?
Well, the least that they can do, they can make a Bhopal page on Facebook, so that people know more about Bhopal. And there are so many things that they can do. One of the reasons why I've been traveling with this documentary around the states, to raise awareness and raise funds for our campaign. So we do not take donations from corporations. We do not take money from governments. So it's all individual donation. Whatever the donation that we have for our campaign comes from individuals. So there are so many different things. They can start boycotting Dow Chemical. If they boycott Union Carbide, they are helping us. If they are boycotting Dow Chemical, they are helping us. If they go to Bhopal, and if they want to include Bhopal as their study, there have been people who have been flying into Bhopal and then doing their school research. So there are many other ways, but the least that they can do, make a page on Facebook on Bhopal so that other people know. But still, we do not take donations from corporations. We do not take donations from government. So we need donation from individuals so that we have enough funds to keep our fight on. But it will be anyways. Our fight will be on, and we will make Dow Chemical liable.
If I can, there's a Bhopali the movie Facebook page that I would hope that you all add, and you could also visit bhopalithemovie.com, and that has links to find out how to donate. It has a petition going on right now, which is a petition to President Obama to try and get him to address the issue of Bhopal and perhaps pressure Dow or Union Carbide to do something. And that petition has reached about 600 signatures. So if you go to the bhopalithemovie.com webpage, you can sign that petition, and you can help that way. And that the website also has a lot of information about the activist movement, and can direct you to places to donate, figure out how to be more active by even, like he said, visiting. There's all that sort of information there.
One of the things that you I think you pretty well articulated it right now, but I was going to ask you anyway. One of the things that this picture seems to really be designed to do is to spearhead, an activist campaign. Is most of the direction of your activist work sort of tied around the website to the film, or are there other avenues that you're trying to channel people?
Sanjay is part of an organization known as International Campaign for Justice in Bhopal, and he's here with a few other members, and they've been very supportive of the film, and I certainly would recommend that people get involved with them. I mean, there are different organizations as well. There's Students for Bhopal, International Campaign for Justice in Bhopal, and they're kind of closely interrelated, yeah, I think that there's many different ways that people can help. So it's not all, there's not just one single way, You can be creative with it as well. You can organize screenings of the film as well in your community if you'd like, which is a good way to spread awareness and help that way.
And for the time being, the film is rolling out to a number of different film festivals.
Right.
You're having great success that way.
Yeah. It won. So far, it's won 4 awards. Recently, it just won 2 awards for Best Documentary, Best Director at the Los Angeles International Film Festival. That was last week, and it's going to be in. Thank you. And it'll continue to be at film festivals. It's at a festival tomorrow, the Beverly Hills Film Festival, and it's at quite a number, at least 10 others coming up. And hopefully later in the year, it'll be released on DVD or Netflix or something like that. Yeah.
I wish you very well.
Thank you.
I'm sure you have questions, and we have time for them. Would anybody like to ask something of Sanjay Max? Yes.
Yes. Gut-wrenching, powerful. So many aspects, but my question is, aside from the issue of punishment for the guilty and compensation and help for the survivors in the community, how do you explain India's failure to remediate the site, to clean it up, and failure to do something about it?
Yeah. Do you want to answer that?
Yes, both the governments, federal government of India and state government of Madhya Pradesh, they both have been blaming each other since the disaster occurred, and we are the people from Bhopal who suffers because of that fight. And state government of India says that we don't have enough funds from the federal government of India, and federal government of India says we have been giving funds to the state government, but we just don't know what they are doing with that money. So, and as for perhaps you meant about the cleanup, right, of the site.
I'm asking, why don't they clean it up?
Well, we believe in polluter pays principle, and since Union Carbide and Dow actually, Union Carbide owned the factory and they just left after the tragedy, and now Dow owns Union Carbide, so we want them to clean it up. I don't think we don't even have enough funds to clean up the factory. It's going to take more than 3 years if we start today,
I think.
India is bigger.
Yeah.
Than one company.
Of course.
So of course the polluter should do it, but I'm saying meanwhile.
Yeah.
Why doesn't India clean it up?
See, they've had
go after.
For sure.
Yeah.
And they've had every opportunity to do that since 1984. I mean, they've had every opportunity, but they won't. I mean, I think that there are some reasons I can name that. For one, that it's a poor community that they probably just don't care that much about.
I don't mean the community, the whole country.
No, the country as a whole. You mean not just the government, but India.
Yeah, well, why doesn't the government of India, India is supposed to be a democracy.
Yes.
Why doesn't the people of India act to
I think, well, honestly, I think because they're just corrupt and they don't care. There's a lot, I mean, there are, as you saw, Swaraj Puri, the chief minister of Madhya Pradesh, claiming in 2009 that the factory was clean. These are ridiculous claims. So that's my reason. That's why I think. But who knows why? And there's another thought that they really want companies like Dow and Union Carbide to invest in their country. To build it up and to grow. And we do know that there has been correspondence between Dow and Indian government officials, pointing, basically it seems like they've let Dow off the hook in order to build up their business and to make India, more, financial worth, basically. But I think I think those are the real reasons why nothing's been done, I think.
Thank you. Yes, next question.
Yes.
The attorney seemed to have a California or West United States accent. Is he an international lawyer? He seemed to be incredibly outflanked.
He's he's based out of New York. He specializes in international law.
He does?
Yeah. I mean, and he's one of many, like I said. And his court case has been going on for like a long time, obviously. 15 years, more than 15 years, I think. But another aspect of that, which I didn't go into the film, is that the judge that is hearing the trial, his name is Judge Keenan. He was the original judge which heard the trial back in 1989, and was very, very dismissive of any claims for compensation or money. And he's been the same judge for like 15 years. So his decision has already been to dismiss the case. And so it's been a constant struggle to try and get some sort of different outcome. Luckily, I think fairly soon they're already requesting a new judge, and it's taken a long time for that to come. But hopefully, with some new new judge in there will be a different opinion, and it can move forward even more. There's a lot of specifics that I don't know about relating to the case. But I would hope that something new would come from that.
Thank you. Another question. Yes.
One of the most remarkable things about your film is none of the scenes and none of the sequences seem staged. Did you have a tough time achieving intimacy with the families, the people, and all of the things that you shot?
Yeah. Well, Sanjay is probably the main reason why I was able to achieve intimacy with people in the film, because he knows everybody for the most part, and as soon as he starts to talk to them, they feel comfortable, and he's like sort of I'm asking questions to him, and then he's asking them, so I think that he makes them feel very comfortable in that aspect because they know him. But in terms of my filmmaking style, aside from interviews, which are kind of staged, you know what I mean? I've set them up and I'm asking them questions, somewhere, and I'm filming them. Everything else, I try to get out of the way as much as I can to film it. So, that's just my filmmaking style. I try to not be there as much as I can. And maybe they eventually get used to you being there with the camera. Like I spent a 3 months or so there, so they get used to you. And they forget, and then I think when they forget that the camera's there, then they open up and you get the personal connection.
You were completely by yourself. You do sound, picture.
I was there with Kirk, which he's somewhere here. He's the producer of the film. He's in the back there.
Stand up, Kirk.
Yeah, it was me and him in January and February, and then I went back in November, December. But it was just me and him and Sanjay as the crew. But I do the sound and I shoot the film, and he helped with additional photography as well. But yeah, very small crew technically.
Other questions? Yes, in the middle there. Yes.
Beautiful, hauntingly beautiful. But I'm just wondering, in terms of as you're doing the festival circuit, I'm in marketing and PR, but is there? I feel like Sanjay. I mean, you're such a compelling individual, and your warmth and your charm, and but also your story. So a lot
Yeah, we're trying. I mean, there was, ever since the Slam Dance Film Festival on the Win, it's growing and growing and growing. And I think there's been a Wall Street Journal piece, there's been a review in Variety, and we're growing and growing and growing. I think it's a slower process to get it all going, but I think the more momentum that the film gets, hopefully we'll get there where and I would love for Sanjay to be part of, that as well. But yeah, I think we'll get there.
Thank you. Another question? No other questions? Oh, come on.
All right.
Yes.
Sanjay or maybe Shayna in the room, could you speak about the current ongoings in the Indian Supreme Court?
Well, recently, a few months ago, federal government of India, they filed a curate petition in Supreme Court of India, and now soon, actually, from 13th of April, day-to-day hearing is going to be started in Supreme Court of India for the case, compensation issues and clean up and make Dow liable. So this is what I know from the case in India.
Yeah.
Question.
Yes. There's a number of students here from Max's high school.
Okay.
What could he say to them about?
Who are the students from John Marshall High School? Okay. Hello. Hello. Okay. Well, if anybody's, yeah, if anybody is, I can only speak about filmmaking, I guess, or any sort of passion. If anybody is interested in filmmaking, or whatever it is, creative, you basically just have to go do it, and not wait around and not let people discourage you from doing something. So if you want to make a film or anything like that, you just got to go do it, because me and Kirk just used our own money. Kirk is a school teacher at King Middle School. I don't know if you know that, so it is, I'm sure some of you came from there. But it is one of those things where if you want to do something, you just got to do it and not make excuses for why you can't do it. If you believe you want to do something, just do it. That's the best advice I guess I have. Yeah, you can find out all about upcoming screenings on the BhopaliTheMovie.com website. Yeah, and like I said, there is a screening tomorrow at the Beverly Hills Film Festival here in LA. Oh, and as well as Berkeley tomorrow. The Berkeley College or University.
One question I wanted to ask you all. Looking at what's happening in Japan with the industrial disaster on the heels of the tsunami, do you feel any direct connections with the Bhopal disaster? Does it seem there are lessons to be learned, advice that citizens of Bhopal might be able to at least offer or encourage the Japanese governments and communities to take into consideration if they're trying to figure out how to act in this?
First, actually, since I've been traveling around for the last few weeks, I've been kind of away from all the news, from Japan. But I do have sympathy with them, and I'm sure that people from Bhopal, we usually support other campaigns as well. We have had people coming to Bhopal from Japan to help the cause in Bhopal. So I'm sure that people from Bhopal, if they haven't, then they would do something then for them for sure. Yeah, but I don't have enough information about Japan.
Yeah, I think that part of one of the key slogans for the Bhopal cause is "No More Bhopals," and it means that they don't want to see any sort of, mainly what it is it's talking about pollution and reliance on technologies that do pollute, and reliance on technologies that are dangerous and toxic to human health. And that's their slogan, "No More Bhopals," and that's kind of what that means. And I think that they would like to see a world where we do not have technologies that can be so hazardous to our health. And I think that Japan case, it's very sad, and I hope that they can figure out something to do there. But it's like we can think of ways to prevent something like that from happening. The nuclear reactor and such. But I think there is a connection there. We have to be much more careful because we have technology now that can literally wipe us out. And there's so many other options, and certainly now we have the opportunity to invest our time and money to find different options for energy or alternative energies and things like that. So I think that a similar lesson will probably be learned from that.
It's interesting. The plant in Bhopal that was using MIC, which is one of the most toxic substances known to mankind, was using that substance to make a pesticide that was believed to be beneficial in society, right? It was to help, agriculture.
And this killed thousands of people in Bhopal, still killing it.
Exactly. If you're ahead of these issues on the front end, as you're saying, if you're anticipating the possible consequences of technological advance, you can perhaps prevent these catastrophes in the future.
Yeah, I would hope so. Definitely.
Any other questions? Oh, good. Yes, in the back, and then I'll get you next.
What is the estimated cost of cleanup? What is the number?
That's a good question.
The question was, what's the estimated cost of cleanup?
I've heard an estimate. I've heard it's around, I think, 5 to 6 billion, something like that, around that, because it's affected water up to 3 kilometers from the plant. That's what I've heard from the Boston International Campaign for Justice chapter. But there's never been a proper assessment. Nobody's ever paid for a proper assessment to really understand how much it will cost, which is, ridiculous. So that's the only estimate I've heard.
Yes.
Hi, Max. From a really difficult subject matter, you managed to make a really uplifting film.
Good.
Yeah, and I just wanted to ask you if you had any resistance, because there was that really graphic scene in the hospital with all the deformed babies. How much access did you have?
Access?
Yeah, I mean, did they...
Yeah. I wasn't supposed to film in the hospital at all, so all of that was kind of, I don't know, I wasn't supposed to be there with the camera.
You could call it guerrilla style.
Right, guerrilla style filmmaking. That was the biggest, and we had to get permission to be inside the factory. But surprisingly, they'll let pretty much anybody in if you say you're making a film or whatever. They're fine with it. It just takes a couple of days to get permission. That was the only thing we tried to get permission for. But yeah, I think just the only real resistance was that. And also, we had tried many times to contact Union Carbide or Dow, and were unsuccessful. The most that we got in response from one of those companies was one of the letters I sent was written on the cover of it, refused. And so they refused one of the letters apparently. So that's resistance as well. But that's basically it.
Can I ask you one more question?
Okay.
How recent was the commercial at the end?
It's a good question. I think that was 2009 or 2008. Yeah, that commercial is, yeah.
Yes.
We really enjoyed this film. It's really absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
And we're so proud of the work that you're doing and your motivation to use your own money and to be very helpful. And my question is, what are your hopes and dreams? Where do you see yourself, say, 10 years from now? What do you think you'll be doing along this line at that time?
You both get to answer this.
Yeah, I'll answer briefly. I want to hear what he has to say, actually. I hope to just continue to make films of all sorts. I started making short films, narrative short films, and I've made a short documentary before. I love making documentaries, but I hope to be able to mix it up, throughout my career and make a narrative film, make a documentary. And certainly, I have a strong passion for social issues. And I think that if I definitely have other ideas in mind and stuff, so I hope to just keep making films. Yeah. But Sanjay.
Well, as for me, one of the things that I want to see in like next 10 years, victory for Bhopal, like justice in Bhopal, which hasn't been done yet. And I will be involved until we get the justice, even after that. And apart from that, my dream is to set up a 5-star hotel sometime in near future.
All right. Yeah.
I think one of the most touching moments in the picture, Sanjay, Max, is when you ask Sanjay, how could God have let this happen? I don't think there is an answer to this. This is one of the eternal questions. But the picture, both the life that Max has managed to portray of yours in the film and your work, I think gives us an answer about what we can do in response to these kinds of tragedies. So thank you both very much.
Thank you.
for bringing
And
that
thank
up.
you all for coming. Thank you.